once again, I'm going to return back to St. Matthew's 24:15-51. Spake Jesus Christ uh, concerning the time nearing his return. And Jesus spoke these things concerning the prophet Daniel. Give it as us a reference chapter, what to look for during the return. However, as I said, God written the Bible up in symbols. The entire Bible was written up in symbols. So let me go to a symbol and read you this part of the symbol and give you a breakdown. As you notice right here, I have one of the vessels that God had made. This is the Ark of the Covenant, and the law of Moses that created a design where the law could be exposed. But if you notice, this is the mercy seat where the two cherubims was one attached on one end and the other attached on the other end, and the voice would come from the midst, in the midst between the two cherubims. I said one was Elijah and the other was Moses, and I will prove that the Bible also proves itself. But this became one of the vessels of God, just like the thing, all the things that God had. And as I said, this what you look at, what you see here is the genetic color code of the 12 sons of Israel just after 430 years had expired in Egypt, and they came out of slavery. What I'm showing you is you'll see a diverse color, genetic color code over there, and it has its merits. And as I go through this part of Daniel and speak the things concerning St. Matthew's, where Jesus spoke, I will take you to this part and show you exactly what happened, what caused the genetic color code to badge the late change. Because if you notice, at the time they went in Egypt and stayed 400 years, Egypt was a predominant black race, which was descended out of Ham, the youngest son of Noah. But as you know, Abraham was a descendant out of Shem, which was the second born of Noah. And I said all the sons genetic of Noah could be traced back to Abraham, to Adam and Eve. But it was the daughter, the wives of these three sons. One could not be traced back to Adam because she was conceived by one of the sons caused by the fallen angels, which was the mother of the Gentiles. And however, but the rest of them remained 100% black. And there's no way if a pedigree, even though they went in and mixed up with the Gentiles up at the north and returned back down to the south, and they stayed in Africa, northern Africa, 430 years, which was Egypt. There's no way the genetic color code, they could lose in pigmentation, and they had to take wives of the Canaanites and the people that dwelled down in the region there. Because if you look at Joseph and even Judea, they taken wives from down in that region. Joseph taking him a wife out of Egypt, and Judea taking him a wife of the Canaanites. This is Bible prophecy. Now, so that tells you the genetic color code didn't change. But when I through this here recording, as I continue to speak, I'll show you what happened. Now, let me go back to where I was. The vessels of God. I told you that this tree spoken of in Daniel chapter 4 was the crude oil. Was the crude oil built in the land, God, in the kingdom of God, which was the crude oil wells all over the land. This is what we know that feeds the earth. We know this for a fact. So this is self-explanatory. This is self-interpreted. When God spoke of the tree that fed the whole entire earth, both beasts and everything alike, we know the crude oil in that region, because of man have grown into technology and craft and created all and manufactured all these various vehicles and other appliances and stuff. The crude oil became the heartbeat for all of these industries. So it feeds the world because it plays a vital part in the farm equipment to cultivate and to raise certain food from different sources, which you live by the source of food. So that's the reason God said feed the earth. So that automatically tells us this tree was the crude oil, which have already became the magnet of so many nations, which caused them to flock in the Middle East, in the holy ground. Now, but here was another vessel of God that God had Moses to make. I'm going to try to go through this one because I read this one. He said, and they shall make an okay. Excuse me. Exodus 25, verse 8. I'm going to start this part again. And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them, according to all that I show thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof. Even so shall you make it. And they shall make an ark of shinten wood, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. Now, and thou shalt overlay it with pure gold within and without. Shalt thou overlay it, and shalt make upon it a crown of gold round and about. These are symbols that God talked about. And thou shalt cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in the 4 corners thereof. And 2 rings shall be in the one side of it, and 2 rings in the other side of it. And thou shalt make stays of shinten wood, and overlay them with gold, and thou shalt put the staves into the ring by the side of the ark, that the ark may be borne with them. The staves shall be in the ring of the ark, they shall not be taken from it, and thou shalt put into the ark the testimony which I shall give you. This is the law of Moses, that he's supposed to place this in the ark, the law that God was going to give him, the law of Moses. This is very important because this is a vessel that God used and placed his law. All of these are symbols to us, but he had to give you a design, create these things so they become a symbol. Now, verse 17. And thou shalt make a mercy seat of pure gold, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof. And thou shalt make 2 cherubims of gold of beaten work, shalt thou make them in the 2 ends of the mercy seat. And make 1 cherubim on one end, and the other cherubim on the other end, even of the mercy seat shall you make the cherubims on the 2 ends thereof. Okay. And the cherubims shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings, and their face shall look one to another. Towards the mercy seat shall the face of the cherubim be. And thou shalt put the mercy seat above upon the ark, and in the ark thou shalt put the testimony that I shall give thee, and there I will meet with thee, and I will commune with thee from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubims which are upon the ark of the testimony of all things, which I will give thee in commandments unto the children of Israel. Okay. Now, this is where we're going to stop with this here. But this is the ark of a covenant. You notice the law was going to be placed in there. But the mercy was just